Thanks, and welcome everyone for joining us for Pocosin Art's second annual benefit auction online. And you're joining us here from the beautiful Scuppernong River here in Columbia, North Carolina. And I want to say that there are two reasons we're hosting the auction online this year. And the first, unfortunately, we're all too familiar with. But the second is a really exciting development in that we are undergoing extensive renovations to our studios and our Riverview building. And while we miss having everyone here in person for the in-person version of this event, we hope that you will enjoy learning about the artists, the artwork, and most importantly, bidding on the work. So many artists have generously donated their beautiful work to our auction this year, and I hope that you will acknowledge their generosity and spirit by bidding early, bidding often, and enthusiastically. And remember, you won't have to wait for a cargo ship to unload to receive the pieces you win. I also want to let you know that when you bid, that you're not only purchasing some amazing artwork, you are also supporting the work of Pocosin Arts and our mission. You help keep our mission in action because the money raised at this event goes towards opportunities for creativity, discovery, and learning. And we do this by keeping our tuition reasonable and maintaining a generous scholarship program. Our year-round programs consist of 1- and 2-week workshops in our beautiful studios here in Columbia, North Carolina. We also offer virtual workshops year-round that come to you from the artist studios all around the world. And right here in Columbia, we also offer community classes in ceramics and jewelry making and woodworking. And we also, starting in January, will have a new partnership with the local school to offer career and technical education in our new wood shop. We also host artist residencies, and we participate in community festivals and events. So that's a lot. But before we get our program underway, I also want to acknowledge and introduce our marvelous staff. Some of them are behind the scenes. I'll start with our Zoom workshop coordinators, Ellie Arenas, and also Aaliyah Lantine. And then we also have Chris Davenport and Addison Delisle, who are our workshop coordinators. Annie Workman is our community coordinator, and Jean Olicki is our director of administration. So all of these hardworking people help make everything happen here at Pocosin Arts. So I would also like to acknowledge and send a great big thank you to all of our sponsors and also to all of the artists who have so generously donated. Without them, this event truly would not be possible. So please visit the auction website, check out our sponsors, and learn more about the artists and this fantastic event. All right, guys, so I think we're ready to get started. Join me inside our Riverview building for the next part of our event.
Hello everybody, welcome to Pocosin Arts Auction, Section 1. We're here to talk about the pieces in Silent Section 1. All sections are currently opening, including Section 1, 2, and the live, and Section 1 will be closing at 3:45 Eastern Time. The first piece up is this brooch from Bob Ebbendorf. Bob is a very well-known artist, taught at ECU for quite a number of years, and has been connected to Pocosin since nearly the beginning. In fact, our metalsmithing studio is named after him. This piece is made from found objects from the Outer Banks and is very iconic of Bob's work. I'd like to turn it over to Bob Ebbendorf himself for some words about this piece and his connection to Pocosin. Good luck.
My name is Bob Ebbendorf, and I'm at the moment living in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I am a studio artist. My wife is also an artist and a reflexologist. So after many years as an academic teacher at different universities, I have the joy now of being each morning at my workbench in the world of ideas and definitely the world of curiosity. The work that I have been known to do in my footprint, I oftentimes work with discarded pieces of material, either things I find walking on the street or from the dumpster, or broken piece of jewelry from years back, of costume jewelry that I might take and alter and take apart. So, but trained as a serious goldsmith and silversmith, setting stones, raising vessels in sterling silver or copper. But today, my world is about curiosity of unusual materials. I use historically many of the same tools I work with and the techniques I use have been passed down for generations and years. In the Middle Ages, the metal workshop has some of the same tools that I use each day. So I come from a family, I come from history, I come from deep, deep roots of craftsmanship, skills, and curiosity. So the work that is for the auction this year, I was excited. It is a seashell from Rifle Beach, North Carolina, that was sent to me, and then the broken piece of yardstick. So it's very common for me to alter positions of materials such as this. So this piece has North Carolina roots and also a broken piece of yardstick. The techniques that this piece is a lot of cold connections, rivets, and using ways of capturing the objects with care. But usually those skills are basic jewelry skills that I learned as a beginning person in the ABC jewelry classes. So it's a great excitement once again to take part in Pocosin's auction. My relationship with Pocosin is, the root is very, very deep. The beloved early warrior Feather Phillips invited me to come some years ago, many years ago. I was a professor at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, and it was through Feather that I had the first introduction and opportunity to come and teach a workshop at Pocosin. And Feather pointed across the street and said, you know, someday my dream is to be able to buy that piece of property and put a building on there, maybe let's see, maybe studio, or even better, a resident housing opportunity. That way I could invite people to come to take part in their workshops, but they would also have a place to stay, a place to live, a kitchen to work from. And lo and behold, today, Pocosin waves its flag with great celebration that that dream of Feather Phillips came to fruition as a beautiful studios for wood, clay, mixed media, and metal. And then also the adjacent building that has beautiful housing facilities with a kitchen and a space for community lectures and participation. So the Pocosin dream by Feather continues to flourish with great voice. It is in the Eastern Corridor. It is the one creative drink of water that we can enjoy. So the workshop program under the leadership of the now director, Marlene True, has an international flag, well known, and people come to take classes, and the faculty that are invited in, all of them are seasoned educators, and oftentimes have a rich opportunity to help Pocosin continue to be creative and be on the forefront of education in the arts.
Okay, so the next artist that we have in Silent Auction 1 is a piece by Jan Harrell. And Jan teaches at the Glazell School in Houston, and she's been to Pocosin Arts as part of Project Mesh in 2019. And it was just really fun to watch her her process in the studio. And for the auction today, she donated this really beautiful piece, which is enamel on copper, and it's done in a very painterly manner, and it's just a really gorgeous piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, we have a video from Jan telling us more about this process. So enjoy this video from Jan.
Hi, my name is Jan Harrell, and I've taught several workshops for Pocosin. I've given 2 pieces for the auction, and I wanted to show you about what size they are, because you're probably not going to read the inches at the bottom. But they're 2 plate forms. They're enameled. They're on a spun copper form. In one of them, I've used a lot of the techniques that I've shown in my workshops: sgraffito, stencil, line work, and I think one of them has a little bit of silk screen in it also. That's kind of what I do, and that's what I teach, and I hope you can see the finished results of the pieces that I've given to this wonderful organization that has helped me give a lot more of what I can do in teaching out to the world. So thank you.
Our next piece up is these beautiful earrings by Ben Cook Akaiwa. I actually met Ben in a class on classical Japanese metalsmithing several years ago, and he's since gone on to apprentice in Japan in 2019, which is when these earrings were made. This experience helped Ben to shift away from making flat work and to appreciate that even subtle addition of form can transform a design. He also learned to consider every aspect of a piece of jewelry and to embrace serendipity in his work. This piece pairs mokumegane, which means wood grain metal, which is a Japanese technique, with a granulation pattern, which is these little silver dots, and that's more of a Western technique. And this particular piece marries Eastern and Western techniques and aesthetics into one harmonious piece of jewelry.
Yeah, it's really nice. The mokame technique, I don't know how many layers of metals, but this is layering copper and sterling silver, probably at least 18 layers that is fused under heat and pressure. And then the layers are drilled through, and once you drill through the layers, you forge it back out, and then that beautiful wood grain pattern begins to develop. So there's a lot of work and attention to detail that goes on in these earrings. They're really fantastic.
Yeah, I love the contrast of the sort of random wood grain pattern in the mokame and the precision with which these granules have been laid out on the earrings. It's a really lovely contrast and combination.
Exactly. And even the granulation, that too is a technique that takes a lot of attention to detail. It's a little bit tedious, and he has done a really beautiful job of bringing these 2 techniques together. So whoever gets these earrings, you're going to be a really happy wearer, I'm sure. Okay, so the next piece we're going to talk about in preview for Silent Auction 1 is an artist from California. Her name's Toni Best, and she has taught at Pocosin Arts several times, both in person and our virtual workshops through Zoom. What I really love about Toni's work is she uses the native longleaf pine from North Carolina to weave into her pieces. So Addison, I know you had a conversation with Toni about her work, and yeah, why don't you tell us some more?
Yeah, well, Toni was telling me that when she cut the gourd for this piece, which is what this central part is, she intended to use the bottom for a larger bowl, but this part, which is the top, actually spoke to her, and she felt that it needed to become a wall piece, which is what this is. It also has a stand, so you can display it on a pedestal or table. She feels that part of her soul goes into every piece that she makes, and her intent with her art is to spread joy to the people who see and receive her work. She enjoys using color to express this idea here as well.
And I kind of wish people, of course you can never really appreciate the piece as you can in person, but the layers of paint, there's some translucency going through and some really beautiful, sparkly, layers of paint in that are just gorgeous. So anyway, make sure to bid on this piece.
Hi, Ann and I are here with 4 pieces from our silent auction part 2, which closes at $355. The first piece is by Wade Brickhouse. This is a boat constructed of wood and cut paper. The text that you can see on the outside of this is from The Old Man and the Sea, the Hemingway story. The details inside are true to life, with using linen thread coiled here in a rope, oars that he's hand constructed, and even floats on the netting that is in the bottom of the boat, which is very much about what it is the story is. Wade says that making these pieces is a very personal story that illustrates the deep connections that man have with vessels and nature. And the white signifies the purity of that connection. Wade is an artist that was he was trained as an architect, and he lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Next is Mark Windekin's joint. Mark is an artist out of Anchorage, Alaska, and he uses woods that he finds in that area. This is walnut. This is a sculpted piece of joinery that's very reflective of the furniture pieces that he creates. It's a mortise and tenon joint, and it's deceptively complex. To make a shaped joint like this requires a lot of skill, and also the ability to match the joint areas here in a smooth transition so it becomes one piece. Mark says that he makes these pieces as not only an example of the other types of work that he does, but also as a sculptural piece in itself to be hung on the wall or set as an interesting piece along a table or a pedestal. Next is a book that I made. This is called 12 Days. It's encased in red oak. And I made this book as part of my MFA thesis project at the University of Alabama when I graduated in 2016. And the images that you see in here are from medium format and 35mm negatives using Van Dyke process, which is one of the oldest processes for producing photographs. It was actually in competition with the blue that you sometimes can see, which is called cyanotype. There's a poem in here called 12 Days, and it's printed using ink that I pigmented with coal ash and ground coal. The images that are in here are images that I collected throughout the year when I traveled North America, taking photos during visits to wilderness areas. And this book was made as a celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Wilderness Act. With the book is a listing of all the places that the photographs are from. The book is printed on handmade paper, and it was printed at Penland School of Craft. Next is Seo Eo's pieces on wood, and they're covered with a talc covering, and you can see that this oxidation is from the nail heads that are in here. Seo very much is inspired by the philosophy of phenomenology, which has a lot to do with the way that we experience the world. And the quote from some information that he gave us, Robert Ern's approach to seeing and forgetting the name of thing one sees. And very much like this, it's unidentified, but it's very familiar to us because of its texture and the way that it relates to the body. And the other things that we see, everything from a billboard along a road to rusty nails and a plank of wood. These items are a part of silent auction number 2, which again closes at $355. You can bid on all of these items throughout the day. During our auction time up to $355, 55, and you can view them all on Greater Giving.
Well, hello again. So this time I'm joined by Mr. Holly, who is the superintendent of the Terrell County Schools, and we're here to talk to you about this year's Fund a Need for Pocosin Arts. And the reason Mr. Holly is here is because the Terrell County Schools is a big part of what we're doing. We have a project that is called Crafting Community, in which we've been working on for a few years to get the funding together for this project. It's a total of $1.8 million project, and what that project will do is renovate our existing studios, which is ceramics and metalsmithing. It's going to create a whole new woodworking studio, and then our Riverview event space will be raised to get out of basically flooding the harm's way there, and it's also going to add a great big nice new deck out there for outdoor events. So the Crafting Community project, when we originally went out to bid, it came in $400,000 over the projected cost. So the Wingate Charitable Foundation stepped in and offered to match dollar for dollar up to $200,000 for this project. And so when we reach that $200,000 mark, essentially we will have $400,000, and that is what we need to complete this project. So, we're real happy. I'm very happy to have Mr. Holly and the Terrell County Schools working with us on this project, the Crafting Community. So, if you would like to say a few things about it.
Well, first of all, I thank for the partnership from the beginning, from everything with the Institute here in Terrell County. What's been a beautiful thing is now with our growing population and just looking at how the world is going, being able to give kids the opportunity for those hands-on skills is very important. And so with the additions and the renovations, being able to have our students to practice the woodworking skills and other craft within a state-of-the-art facility is going to be a big help for them. One of the things that we're priding ourselves is not only just the academics of our students, but our real-world applications so they can go out and actually do it. So we have some very creative kids. They're looking forward to it. All the work that we've done before with the organization has just done anything. It's been really special in the face of COVID, I'll say that much. But now being able to partner with a community partner so close to our school, it's going to be a great benefit for our students.
I think so too. And I should also mention Mr. Holly is a member of our board of directors, and it's just been such a pleasure to work with him and all of our board to help make this happen. So thank you so much for joining us.
No problem, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Orlin Benitez, and I work for Capital Inspiration, and we're working on the historical buildings here in Columbia, North Carolina for Pocosin Art. So what we're doing out here is we're taking out the old mortars from the side of the wall, making it nice and firm or clean, a clean cut. We're getting ready to put the new mortar over there. So this is what the process of putting new mortar is. Once we finish chipping out the walls, we go ahead and start putting the new mortar in to make it look like making it look like it used to look, but newer, you know. Once the new mortar is in, we let the mortar like heal for a couple of days. Then we come out here and we wash the wall with chemicals to, wash the face of the brick and to restore it. It's an easy step process, but it's just time and dedication to make it look nice. Make sure that we're doing everything perfect to not disturb any of the historical look to the wall.
Well, I'm real excited to begin with the live auction portion of this event. And the first piece in the live auction is by artist Maya Leppo. But before we start talking about the piece, remember that all the pieces in the silent auction are going to be closing every 5 minutes. So please refer to the website to see what time the closing happens for each piece. Yeah.
It's the live auction.
This is the live auction. It is a live auction. So anyway, we're excited to have this part of the auction underway. And I want to mention too, if you happen to hear some noises and things that are going on, we actually have construction happening here at Pocosin Arts, and that is part of our renovation that is sponsored by the Nicholson, the Wingate, and the USDA. It will refurbish all of our studios, and even this building here, the Riverview, which will be raised up a little bit to help prevent flooding from the beautiful Scuppernong River. And we're also going to be expanding our deck out so that we can have hopefully our next live auction in this facility, both inside and out. And I think it'll be a really great time. And we're looking forward to having more in-person events again too. So
Can't wait.
Yeah. So Addison, why don't you tell us a little bit about Maya's necklace?
Sure. Well, this necklace by Maya Leppo is part of a new exploration in her work using colored porcelain. The petal forms are inspired by botanical elements that have been reduced to their most basic shape. She designs a lot of her work using 3D modeling software and prefers to use industrial materials such as silicone, steel tubing, and wire. The result is a work that explores the intersection between botanical and industrial. Maya actually participated in a 9-week jewelry intensive that we offered in 2010, which covered metalsmithing techniques, but also photography and business practices, with the goal of teaching artists to sustain themselves. I spoke with Maya recently, and she told me, quote, "I certainly wouldn't be where I am in my career without Pocosin. I was able to connect early on in my career and learned so much. It was great to come back and teach and see all that had changed."
Yeah, and it was really fun. I remember those days when Maya was here. She actually came to us with a background in biology, and she was just starting on her metalsmithing career. So since that time, she has really skyrocketed and went off to get her Master's of Fine Art. And now she's also participated in several residencies. And it's always really fun for us to have some of those artists come back, you know, after they've been working in their career for some time. So we love to claim Maya as one of our own, and we're just super proud of her and all of her accomplishments. So anyway, is she teaching with us next year? She may be teaching with us next year.
So.
We're hoping, but she has certainly taught here in person, and she also has taught several of our Zoom workshops. So anyway, we also love having her teaching in our studios. And we want to make sure that you remember to bid on this beautiful piece. Go to our auction website and bid. And just remember, there may be a slight lag in the bidding, so you really want to pay attention to the timing on the bidding website so you don't miss the opportunity to bid on this beautiful piece. Bidding on this auction item closes at 4:05, so make sure you're paying attention to that auction website. And good luck.
Hi, my name is Chris Davenport. I'm a studio and workshop coordinator here at Pocosin Art School of Fine Craft. My areas of specialization here are in wood and ceramics. And so it's my pleasure to be talking about Aspen Golan's pieces, these two brushes. I spoke with Aspen not too long ago, who is a graduate of North Bennett Street School in Boston, Massachusetts. And her specialty area is hand building pieces of furniture and accessories such as this. These brushes are constructed out of walnut, and she uses a special type of fiber, which is a natural fiber, to create the brushes. And it's really important to note for anyone who may be interested in these pieces that she means for these pieces to be used, not to be delicately set on a shelf somewhere. She wants them to be put to the purpose that they've been created for. You can notice that this pair go together, and she's created these circles that are stacked in repetition for that purpose too, and also as part of the function. You can see how they're kind of ergonomic to made so you don't have to bend your wrist in any particular type of way to use these. At some point in this portion of talking about Aspen's pieces, you'll have an opportunity to hear her describe this and see some of her personality. We're hoping that she will come and join us in a workshop in 2023 in our brand new wood studio that's currently being renovated.
My name is Aspen Golan, and I make furniture and small wooden homewares. For this piece, I was inspired by the combination of sort of hard and soft materials and the sculptural potential of functional objects. I use domestic hardwoods and Tampico fibers, and I work primarily with hand tools, so all I really need is good light and occasionally electricity.
I'd like to also mention that Aspen's pieces, these two lovely brushes, are auction item number 2, and they close at 4:15. These are part of our live auction this year, so you have to bid at that time period to get these. Also, please refer to our auction platform, Greater Giving, for the correct time of bidding of this item and others during our live auction.
Hi, I'm Ann Workman, the Community Outreach Coordinator for Pocosin Arts, and I'm here to talk about Erica Iman's cups that she's donated this year. Erica's work is inspired by natural rock formations, landscapes, geology, and the raw earth materials themselves. These cups are based on soft, worn river stones. They're created by throwing and altering to create a round bottom for cupping in the hand.
Yeah, they're really nice.
The speckled texture is crushed granite. They're dipped in a satin white glaze and a band of bronze glaze is painted on. There's a bit of copper in the glaze that's blushed to green.
Yeah, that's a really gorgeous detail in her work. And Erica Iman has started teaching for Pocosin Arts through our Zoom program, and they've been really very popular workshops. And you know, Annie too is a budding ceramicist, just started taking throwing classes at College of the Albemarle, right? Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so that's been really fun to watch Annie's journey too, and really nice to have some of these really beautiful examples of what can be done. In fact, we were just talking the other day about, you know, they are so masterful, these pieces, and, you know, you watch some of these demonstrations, the artists make it look so easy, but the reality is, you know, it does take time and patience and passion to learn how to make these beautiful objects. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Annie makes as well. But for now, we are auctioning these gorgeous cups. It's live auction item number 3. The bidding on this piece closes at $420, and make sure you're paying close attention to our auction website because there might be a slight lag in the video. So to be sure that you get to bid on these pieces, be sure to pay attention to that time on the website. So yeah, those are just really super gorgeous, and yeah, you should take one of those too. And that soft bottom, that curve is really very nice, as they were saying, cupping in the hands. It's really super nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this would be great for any type of beverage you might enjoy.
Hi, I'm standing here holding Dan X's Centipede book. And you can see that it's a centipede book by the way the link stitches are used here by Dan to construct his book. This item is item number 4, and it closes at 4:25 as part of our live auction here at Pocosin Art School of Fine Craft. I've known Dan for quite a while. I work in books as well. And I actually met him while I was teaching a spring concentration at Penland. His studio assistant at the time was in one of my classes. She was a core student, Alex McKay, and she's going to be coming next spring to teach an in-person workshop with Dan here at Pocosin Arts in our brand new restored wood studios. Having talked to Dan several times about his work, and I'll just open the piece now, he uses a variety of handmade papers that either he makes or he gets from other people. He uses wood construction for his covers, and he uses a linking stitch, if you can see here, which is very delicate and also very expressive. His studio, if you ever have the opportunity to visit with him, is part museum, part Wunderkammer. And his work reflects that. He uses mica and very delicate tacks to highlight different objects that he finds either from nature or just trash or other things that he finds that are interesting, just based on that idea of like a cabinet of wonder. And that's what he wants you to see with his pieces and as you handle and use them. He works large and he works small. And here at Pocosin Arts, he's taught both in-person workshops like you will with us in 2022 in our wood studio, and also in our Zoom courses.
I've never done any bookmaking myself, but how would you make something like that?
It's a good question. Dan's process is to start with wood, in this case walnut, and then from there to drawing a series of holes where the stitching can be placed to hold this constructed book together. And then the paper, which is in signatures, you can see here, which are just folded groups of paper, are then pierced and linked together using a linking stitch, which is the way it's held together here. So you can see why this is called a centipede book. It's both looks like a centipede here, part of the linking stitch that Dan uses to construct his books, and it's also functional and decorative. Hi, I'm here with Lynn Nash's Pinata Party. This is item number 5 in our live auction, and it closes at 4:30.
So this piece is really great. Lynn works in a lot of layers. You can see where she scrapes the paint to make more texture on it. She also does a lot of beautiful mark making, like these little dots and circles all over the place. She has a lot of fun with the mark making process, even though some of the marks will eventually be covered. But you can see them peek through in different areas. We have a little video from Lynn where she talks about her work.
So during that studio visit with Lynn that you'll see in the interview, she'll talk more about this process and why she's chosen in this piece to begin to work in more bright colors, which is the name, Pinata Party.
My name is Lynn Nash and I'm a painter. I mostly do abstract work, but sometimes lately I've been veering into more representational work. And I like to work in larger formats. It's just more expressive. So this is actually a little smaller than what I normally do. Normally I don't do much smaller than 36 by 36. And I really enjoy working larger paintings. I do acrylic and water medium, and I also sometimes put in collage elements, but I really work in lots and lots of layers. I think that's the main thing that is worth mentioning, is that I work in a lot of layers. So they come through, if you look at it, and you can see there's some texture in here. If you look at it, that's intentional. And in some places you'll see that it's been scraped away, or it's been painted over and somehow manipulated the paint to make it have a lot of surface texture and interest. When I did this painting, I was in a real happy place because we just gotten our second vaccines and I was feeling optimistic, and so I was using a palette that I don't normally use, which is this bright, summery, textured, exuberant painting. So that's where it started, and it ended up that way, which is not typical of my paintings. My paintings are normally a little more subdued, a little more abstracted even. So I called it Pinata Party because it reminded me of a child's birthday party. I hope someone will enjoy it in their house.
I hope you enjoyed that visit with Lynn in her studio. Had a lot of fun with her there filming that. And I just want to remind you that this item, number 5, will close at 4:30 as part of our live auction.
All right, next up is piece number 6 in our live auction, which is this lovely brooch by Juan Carlos Caballero Perez. This piece is a part of a series entitled Windows of Nature. It is inspired by aerial topographic views. Juan Carlos Caballero Perez is an instructor at RIT, and he first heard about Pocosin Arts at a SNAG conference when he met Marlene, who was at the time a student at ECU. Juan was actually invited to teach a class with us in 2020, which has unfortunately postponed, but he will be coming back to teach an in-person class with us in 2022. This brooch features all kinds of nerdy metalsmithing techniques like Kembu, reticulation, granulation, fabrication, and it also...
Maybe a little gold leaf going on there?
Yeah, it's got that gold Kembu where the gold foil is actually fused to the surface. This is an ancient Korean technique where it's fused with just heat and a little bit of pressure from an agate burnisher. It's a very cool technique. And it can also, most excitingly, be worn as a pendant in addition to as a brooch.
And I have to say that the light in here just really activates all these surfaces on this piece. It's just so gorgeous. I think I might have to put a bid in on this one too. But anyway, yeah, I met Juan when I was a student at East Carolina University. He came and gave a lecture for us, and yeah, ever since then I've always thought, boy, I would love to take a workshop from him and learn more about all of his different techniques. He's also really an interesting individual. He came from Mexico City and went to RIT, I think, for part of his education. So he has a very inspiring story to tell as well. So anyway, yeah, and about more nerdy metalsmithing techniques, the Kembu is also, wait a minute, it is Kembu, it's not Pocosin gum then, which is also a Korean technique. Oh, wait a minute, that's where they chisel the metal. That's a totally different thing. But anyway, yeah, the Kembu is really beautiful. And this, I have to say too, the pearl on this piece is luminous. It's just really gorgeous. So I wish I had a little cable so I could wear it as a necklace too to show you, but just know that that's a possibility too. And I believe the time on this one, I'm not exactly sure what the timing is for closing on this one, but be sure to refer to our auction website and look at the piece and pay attention to the closing time on the auction website to be sure you don't miss out bidding on this gorgeous piece.
I'm going to introduce you to Catherine Ellis's item that she's donated. It's a beautiful hand-woven wool and silk dyed shawl. Catherine Ellis is a studio artist and an educator specializing in woven textiles and natural dyeing. She's donated this beautiful woven shawl and this book about woven shibori, which is a technique that she created. It's based on the shibori dyeing technique, which is a Japanese tie-dye technique using hand stitching. She modified it so that she uses a loom to put in the stitching when she makes the cloth. And then once the cloth is finished, you pull the string so that it tightens it, and then the dye can't get through to certain places. The purple dye is logwood, and this reddish dye is the sandalwood. The piece is dyed with logwood and sandalwood. The purple comes from the logwood, which is a tropical tree. The hardwood from it is ground up and made into dye. Catherine has been perfecting her woven shibori technique since 1990 and has been weaving since the 70s.
I had the opportunity to study this technique with Catherine when I was an undergrad at Appalachian State University taking a textiles class with Carmen Greer. She came and showed us this, and it was much more than I thought. You think about tie-dye in the way that we traditionally think of tie-dye in the Western tradition. This is much more complex. It involves stitching, as Anne was talking about, to gather up each individual place that you see here, to disperse the dye in this type of pattern, and then wrapping it sometimes on a pole to be dyed and then sit for several days before washing it out. This beautiful shawl by Catherine Ellis is number 7 in our live auction, and it closes at $440.
Okay, this next piece that we have is number 8 in our live auction, and bidding on this piece closes at $445. And this beautiful piece was made by artist Matt Repsher, and Matt has a really long relationship with Pocosin Arts. He came here to do an artist residency probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, and it was really fun because his wife, Marion Miller, was also an artist in residence at the time. She's a metalsmith, and it was really great to have them in the studios here with us. They had their great big beautiful fluffy dog Jack with them, and it was just really fun to go down in the studio and see what they were up to. So anyway, this piece is really typical of Matt's work. He does a lot of carving and I think what I would call sgraffito on the pieces. They use terra sigillata, and he's also really thoughtful about finishing his work. He's put a cork bottom on this piece so that you can set it down really nicely on any kind of surface and it won't damage. And I just have to point out the top and the detail on this piece too. Yeah, Matt went on to become a resident at Penland School of Crafts after his time here at Pocosin Arts. And it was really great to watch what he was doing there. And I think now, well, I do know, he's actually moved back to Santa Fe, New Mexico with his wife now, and they've got their studios set up there. So it's real fun to watch them on social media and see what they're up to. And we're certainly going to try to get Matt to come out here to teach another workshop too.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I just really love this piece, just the way it uses color and negative space and texture in the composition. Just every piece, every aspect of this is really well considered. And even that cork bottom Marlene talked about, it's just blended right in at a bevel, so it just flows into the piece. I actually didn't even notice it when I first took it out of the box.
Yeah, it's a really gorgeous piece. And I should say Matt, he grew up in Pennsylvania, and his dad was also a ceramic artist. And he liked telling us about how his dad was really a real inspiration to him. And just the surroundings in nature, I think really meant a lot to Matt. So for this piece, of course, it is just really gorgeous on its own. And to just be able to look at it and contemplate all of the work that went into this piece. But I don't know, what would you do with this piece?
Well, if it was in my house, I'd probably put it on the mantle, and I might have some like wheat stalks or some sort of dried plant or maybe something aromatic in there. Yeah, I think it would really set off the kind of muted palette that this piece uses quite nicely, and then you also avoid the issue of water coming through the side.
Aha! Yeah, it can be just a really beautiful piece anywhere, and I think anybody would be proud to own this piece for sure.
Next we have number 9 in our live auction, which closes at $450. This is a beautiful drawing and mixed media piece by Susan Fecco. Susan is a professor of painting and drawing at Barton College in Wilson, North Carolina. In this piece, which is very reflective of where we are here at Pocosin Arts School of Fine Craft, it's much about place. You can see the vernacular architecture here in this tobacco barn, and the way that she's talked about through the use of repetition in the drawing in the background, the landscape of this area of eastern North Carolina. You can also see the way that she's used in her composition, the way to show the vastness of this place by placing trees in the landscape, and then also incorporating the changing skies we see here in this part of the state. I think this piece is really appropriate to have in our auction. Not only is she a resident and working artist in this part of North Carolina, but also it talks a lot about where we are right now. Probably in the background here you can see the Scuppernong River, which is very, very reflective of what it is that you're seeing here. Some of the details that you'll be able to see when we have a more close-up view of what we've done here, what Susan's done here, is the way that she has come back into some of this and added in other materials, including rips in the paper that she's left as part of the work and part of the process that she uses. And then also some of these colors that you may be familiar with seeing in things like red iron oxide in the soil, and particularly towards the Piedmont of the state. Some of the other details that Suzanne has used in some of her drawings and paintings here that's reminiscent of some of her other works, very much about place and landscape and the vernacular language of this place in the landscape. She's used crayon and charcoal and graphite to rub over things like the end grains of logs. Also here, she's done those rubbing techniques too. And if you've ever seen hay fields after they've been cut, that's very much what you're seeing here. And that's reflected in the colors that she uses here, and then the way that she's masked off part of the drawing in these areas here to reveal a difference. So you get an area of comparison within it. You really have to see this piece up close. It's one of those pieces of art where it doesn't always translate in something like a photo or a video, and you have to experience it. And I think that really is what she was after in creating these types of pieces. Hi, we're here with Candace Methy's piece, Energy Tower Jar. It's number 10 in our live auction, and it ends bidding at $455.
This is a beautiful hand-built piece made out of black stoneware with white terra sigillata, fired to cone 4 oxidation. The jar is part of a series. Candace said that she looks for the mother in all things, and energy towers make her feel small and childlike. So this piece is based off of the energy towers that she sees on a long drive out on the plains on Montana. They have such a presence to her, and she's given them these anthropomorphic qualities in her mind. She loves the scale and architecture of them. They're so stark against the barren plains out there. She said that she loves functionality, so all of her pieces are utilitarian. She considers herself a sculptural vessel maker. The hand-built stoneware sort of peeks through the white terra sigillata in these patterns that she's created by cutting and then putting back together the clay. You can also see these little freckles all over the surface that are from mixing coarse lithium into the terra sigillata.
We have an interview with Candace, and she's going to be talking to you more about what Ann was pointing out about how much place plays a part to work that she does. In Montana, she is a resident at the Archie Bray Foundation, which is a place where a lot of ceramic artists go to spend time, very much like our residency programs here. Candace will be joining us next year, 2022, for an in-person workshop here in our newly restored ceramic studio.
My name is Candace Methy, and I donated a piece this year to the Pocosin Arts fundraiser. And the piece that I donated was inspired by the energy towers that we see, or maybe we don't see out in the world, you know, those big giant towers that will with the wires that transmit energy into the places that we call home and the places that we reside. I love the scale, and you know, I live out here in Helena, Montana, where there's wide open expanse. So sometimes that's all you see in a long drive. And so I decided to base a series of jars off of that form and obviously bring the scale down. And they are hand built with black stoneware clay, and they are finished with terra sigillata.
Well, the next piece I'm going to talk about, I'm actually very familiar with because I made it. So anyway, I really like to support Pocosin Arts through my jewelry. And to tell you a little bit about this piece, Annie is modeling it beautifully. I started working in jewelry and went to East Carolina University to finish my Master's of Fine Arts. And during that time, or actually a little bit before that, I really enjoyed or really wanted to put color into my work. But I didn't have access at the time to an enameling kiln or some of the more traditional ways you might bring color into your work. And I went to a Society of North American Goldsmiths conference, and I listened to a lecture by an artist named Bobby Hansen. And Bobby just really lit up the room, and he gave a lecture showing people making work using repurposed tin cans. And boy, at that moment, it was just like the light bulb went off, and I thought, I can figure out how to use this in my jewelry. So I did that, and for the longest time, I used the imagery and text and things like that in my work and really enjoyed doing that. But from there, when I got into graduate school, some of my professors, Bob Ebendorf, Misa Kaur, Tim Lejour, they all really pushed me to take my work to the next level. And one of the things I did was, in the tin can, I started using it more as a material to fabricate with rather than for the color. And so, because tin cans are really made from mild steel and they have a micro coating of tin to keep them from rusting. So what I did is I would strip all the paint off and use the steel as a material to fabricate. And in this piece, I call it meditation pendant because it's made from 34 individual little parts. So I cut out the steel with a die cutter, and then the little stem portions is forged steel that I soldered and then soldered into the base, and then used liquid and sifted enamels to create the color in the piece. So one of the things I love about working with steel in this manner is that it's really lightweight, but it's super strong, and I can create really big pieces that, if I were to make that into a pin, will not weigh down the fabric on the wearer. So I've really enjoyed working and making these pieces. And also, Pocosin Arts, one of the things after I graduated, I came to Pocosin to do an artist residency, and it was really fantastic because it gave me that space and time to continue this kind of work and just to explore. And certainly I'm influenced by, you know, the flora and fauna that you find here in eastern North Carolina. So that's my story, and yeah, and I think, Annie, you should have that piece.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, we're here with Frank Sellers' grandmother chest. This is item number 12, and it closes at 5:05 as part of our live auction. This piece is Frank constructed out of Virginia red cedar that he harvested from his property. The tree fell down during a storm, and he had it milled into planks that he then hand chose to match the grain on the inside and out. It's nicely joined for a long time. It's appropriately named grandmother's chest because this is something that you could easily pass down as an heirloom. He's finished the outside with a crystalline finish, which is waterproof. So if you were to set something on here, you wouldn't get a white ring, as long as you manage that pretty quickly. The interior, I'm going to open it now. It's unfinished, and so as I open it now, you can smell that characteristic cedar smell. And inside, he has included these various bins that can hold items such as smaller items like blankets, gloves, hats, things like that. He is definitely of the mindset that what he makes should be used, and over time it'll gain a patina that only cedar can get over time like that when it ages. He does want the buyer to know, the potential owner of this piece, that if you start to lose the smell of the cedar, which of course is one of the most beautiful things about having a cedar piece out of wood, a light sanding will bring that right back out. I had the opportunity to spend the afternoon with Frank, who's a retired engineer and took up woodworking as his passion. He creates a variety of different things, mostly for friends and family. He usually gives them away, like he's donated this piece to Pocosin Arts as a past board member. And so during that interview with him, he'll go into a little bit more detail about this piece and some of the other work he does as a woodworker.
Hi, I'm Frank Sellers. I live in Eden, North Carolina. I'm been retired a number of years as an engineer. And I built this piece for Pocosin Arts. It is made out of cedar, a red cedar that grew in our yard. We had to take the tree down, so we had to saw it into wood and dry it, and I've made this piece. I call it Grandmother's Cedar Chest because it's a very traditional style. It's a very plain. The inside is not finished, so you have the nice cedar smell. And we like to support Pocosin Art by donating art because we were on their board for a while. We were there in the early days, and I think what Pocosin is doing for the community is really great. It helps artists to understand how to market their products, teach young artists to get involved. And so, you know, that's an important thing for us, supporting Pocosin Arts. It's a good organization. A lot of fun. So hope somebody who buys this piece will enjoy it. I enjoyed building it.
Hi, we're here with C. James Meyer's beautiful pendant of sterling silver, 18 karat gold, and glass. It is number 13 in our live auction, and the bidding closes at $510.
This is Jim Meyer's piece, Bacciali di Fiori. It's fabricated out of sterling silver, sheet metal, and wire. It has two 18 karat gold bezels for the glass pieces. This is not his first piece working with glass. He's done other pieces where he incorporates glass into metal. The name Bacciali di Fiori means flower bud, which was the inspiration for this piece. Jim has spent a number of semesters in Italy, and a lot of his work comes from and is inspired by the places he's been. A lot of his nature-inspired pieces have come from his experience in Italy, spending time observing the native flora. Jim is interested in how artists process the way that they view an item and turn it into an object that represents rather than replicates what they see. Not replicating nature, but using it as a jumping off point for personal expression is what Jim does.
I had the opportunity to talk with James about his piece and his work in general, and you'll be able to see that video here as part of this feature about his beautiful pendant. And like Ann has said, he talks a lot about like using the surroundings, the things that surround him as inspiration into the work that he does, including sometimes found objects. James is currently the vice president of our board and has had the opportunity to visit it here at Pocosin several times and has commented on how much his visits here have inspired some of the things that he does. Part of some of James's visits to Pocosin Arts School of Fine Craft has also been as an instructor, and we'll have the opportunity to have him host him again as an instructor in 2022.
Hi, my name is James Meyer, and I make jewelry and sculpture. My work is inspired by nature. I think for me, what's most important is how I use nature as inspiration, but I'm not really looking to replicate nature. I'm looking for that kind of fine line where nature is inspiring the work, but it has to be not literal interpretation. It has to kind of go through the process of the artist absorbing that and then coming out as something a little bit different. So I work primarily in precious metals, silver and gold, but I'm very interested in found materials as well. So occasionally I'm using river rocks or whatever else I find that might inspire me. My relation to Pocosin Arts has been, I've been fortunate to be an instructor there on a number of occasions. I joined the board of trustees about a year ago, and I am now vice president of the organization. I'm happy to be working with Pocosin. They're doing a fantastic job of having a voice on a national basis, but also having a fabulous relationship with the community of Eastern North Carolina.
So our last item in the live auction is a piece by Ben Owen III, and it is a melon bottle made of porcelain and has microcrystalline glaze. And from here, I'm going to turn it over to a video by Ben who explains his own process very well. So we're really pleased to have Ben's work in our auction, and here's Ben.
Just that practice over and over of making a cylinder or making a bowl or making a plate and finding the best way to have the end product to look a little better each time. You know, each pot is a sketch for the next, and you just have to grab that lump of clay and start again on the wheel and build upon that and take those lessons that you've learned from the past. My grandfather shared with me one time back early on that it's easy to make things in life complicated, but it's very hard to keep things simple. And being able to pull that clay up, and it just really responded to that movement with my fingers, almost like it was effortless. It's almost like you're filling these vessels up with air, and you're like, do I want to blow a little bit more air into it? Do I want to give it a little more volume, give it a little more breath of life to it? Clay can have a mind of its own, and looking at early on in my career, I found that it was a struggle at first trying to learn how to shape and fashion the clay on the wheel. When you're making a large-scale vase, it has to be made in multiple sections. Just because the physicality of actually shaping that much clay at one time, say a 60 or 80 or even 100-pound jar, when you make them out of 15, 20-pound pieces and stack them up and build them up, it helps you to work in a little bit easier fashion. We can spend a lot of time emphasizing and using the latest technology or components to making pots today, but still that foundation of using your hands, using a good will to spin the clay, and really having your eyes and your mind and your hands working in unison to make that pot. And nothing can substitute that, no matter what type of new technology there is out there. I think it is true that we can be distracted by so many things that may not be relevant in what we need to be focusing on as a potter or any kind of craft. But we have to find that way of kind of channeling and putting that energy into things that we feel are the most important part of our lives.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us again for our second online benefit auction. We're so excited that everyone was able to join us today, and we want to thank our sponsors and all the artists who contributed to make this event possible. So everyone, please mark your calendars for next October, same time. Hopefully right here in this place, we'll all be celebrating together in person our annual benefit auction. So thanks again, and that's a wrap, and woohoo! We're all done. Thank you.